Do you ever feel like your thoughts cause you pain? Like there are familiar themes to how you talk to yourself in your head and it's not helpful? Do you love God but still feel anxious or overwhelmed? Have people or experiences shaken your ability to trust? Have you tried to pray harder, push through, or think differently but still feel stuck? Would you like to finally be able to calm your mind and emotions? I've been there. I struggled for years with anxiety, intrusive thoughts, and feeling like I was failing spiritually when I wasn't actually at fault at all. I was simply experiencing the effects of trauma in my nervous system. Now, as a licensed professional counselor and certified EMDR therapist, I help other Christian women to understand and process what's happening to them so that they can experience the healing that Jesus provides through good therapy. That can be a miracle too. Welcome to Trauma Healing for Christian Women. I'm Michelle Croyle, and I'm here to tell you that you're not failing, you're wounded, and wounds can heal. So grab your favorite beverage, a notebook and pen, and take a deep, relaxing breath because you're about to be refreshed. Let's get started. Do you find yourself stuck in emotional pain because thoughts keep showing up over and over again that really are not helping? Like maybe it's feeding anxiety or insecurity, or maybe you notice that you're overthinking something that someone said, or feeling like you're not enough no matter what you do. And you've tried to pray about it, or you've tried to think differently, or just ignore it, push it away, but it's just really bothersome. If that's you, today's episode is going to give you something incredibly practical and hopefully life-changing, because one of the most important skills you can learn is how to think about your thinking. So if you've ever heard the phrase meta, right? I think of it as like when you're watching a television show and on that television show, the character that you're watching is watching television. Or when you are taking a picture of someone taking a picture, right? It's this level that goes another layer, a layer out or a layer in. And that's how it is with thoughts. We all have thoughts. Our thoughts happen because that's what brains do. They think. But when we think about our thoughts, we can notice patterns. We can notice what we're saying to ourselves. We can notice if it's helpful or not, and we can do something about it. And often we have things called thought distortions. And when you understand that you can think about your thoughts and you can notice if they are telling you the truth or not, it can really help you break free from a lot of the emotional pain that you may be having, because distortions really are not something that give you clarity or truth or set you free. And the Lord has freedom for you. So the very first thing I want you to understand is this: you are not to blame for your thoughts. You are responsible for what you do with those thoughts, right? Because you have a thought that's negative does not mean that you have done something wrong. That just means your brain had a negative thought. But because you had that thought, are you going to go do something awful like steal from somebody? Or are you going to say, oh, I don't steal, so I'm not going to pay attention to that thought? Right? You're going to make a wise choice and steward yourself well, no matter what that thought is. That is the power that we have, right? So we can notice what we're thinking. And instead of having condemnation for ourselves or guilt or shame because we're not happy with the thought, we can notice whether the thought is something that we agree with or not, whether it's godly or not, whether it's something that's helpful to us or not, whether it's something beneficial, right? And if it isn't, it's okay not to beat yourself up for having the thought, because you're going to have thoughts. Thoughts happen. But to tell yourself, I know we didn't like that thought, or we're not in agreement with that thought, and then be able to go on about your day. or do something positive instead of thinking about the thoughts that are tearing you down. Go, oh, no, I don't agree with that thought. That was a silly brain thing that it was thinking. Let's move on over here, right? But sometimes what we do is we try to engage with the thoughts and then we beat ourselves up for them. And that is not helpful. You don't have to beat yourself up because you had a thought that you weren't happy with. You can notice, thoughts happen, but I'm not in agreement with that thought, or that thought's not telling me the truth, and therefore I don't have to let it disturb my peace. So I'll tell you this story in high school of an experience that I had. And I was in study hall, and the study hall was in the cafeteria, and I would sit there with the same friends every week. And for several weeks, this one girl who sat across from me would tell me, Michelle, why are you shooting me dirty looks? And I really wasn't. I really honestly wasn't. There was nothing even thinking about her. I was just probably sitting there like stewing over geometry homework or something like that. It had nothing to do with her. I didn't even know I had a look on my face, right? There was nothing that indicated anything about this person. And yet, week after week, she accused me of shooting her dirty looks. And I tried to explain to her, I'm not. I'm not. And she wouldn't believe me. She really was distrusting me. And I did nothing that wasn't trustworthy, right? So I could have had a thought like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm shooting her looks. Well, that would be a lie. I wasn't. I could have a thought of, boy, she's being a real jerk to me, right? I don't think she was. I think she was really struggling. And I noticed that. Now, I noticed that I was trying to tell her the truth and she wasn't hearing it. But I also noticed that it was what she was telling herself about the meaning of what she perceived my look towards her to be. Honestly, I'm sorry if she didn't like my look. It was just my face. But she didn't like it and she wanted me to change it. And yet I wasn't doing it, right? That's how it is with distortions. It looks or feels so real. And to my friend, I have no doubt she thought I was shooting her looks. But the truth and the reality is, to this day, I can still say honestly, I had no clue what she was talking about because I wasn't even thinking about her. I wasn't even paying attention to her. We were just in study hall. So I know for a fact I wasn't shooting her looks. How she interpreted my face, that's a thought that she was having. That was meaning making that she was putting towards it. But was it true? No. Was it helpful? No. Was it accurate? No. And that's what thought distortions do. So when you can notice the thoughts that you're having and then challenge them against the truth, what is good, pure, lovely, true, can help you to tell yourself the truth. And therefore, your body can say, oh, if that's true, then maybe I can relax. Okay, maybe I don't have to overthink this. Maybe I don't have to be anxious. And we can notice, thank you, brain, for trying to protect us. And I think you're making a thinking error right now, right? For my friend, it could have been, Michelle's telling you that she is not shooting you looks or thinking anything bad of you. And has she ever lied to you before? Right? And I didn't know to say that to her, but I wish I could have. I could have gone back in time and said, hey, have I ever lied to you? And she'd have to say no because I had not. and then, oh, well, if Michelle doesn't lie, then maybe she's telling me the truth. It really looked like she was giving me looks. And I was feeling bad about that, but I don't think she was, right? Now, we're not talking about when people gaslight you. We're not talking about when, you feel like you should be able to trust your perceptions and your thoughts, and other people are telling you, no, that's not true. But we're talking about in reality, like to be able to test what you think, to notice if it's true. Just because something feels true does not mean it is true. Thoughts can be distorted and they can cause emotional suffering. Some of the common thought distortions that we all have, I just did one. We all have. I can't speak for everybody. Do I know every single person on the planet? No. So that's kind of an overgeneralization, right? But I think that many of us do have thought distortions because we're human, and it's a typical human thing. So we might overgeneralize. We might catastrophize, right? Like that one bad thing means something is completely ruined, right? Oh no, I forgot to pick up the birthday gift. The party's going to be a disaster. No, you can pick up the birthday gift after the party. You can ask someone else to pick up the birthday gift. You can say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake and I didn't pick up the gift, and you can still go and enjoy that party, right? We don't have to catastrophize. We don't have to jump to conclusions like that we know how things are going to turn out, or we don't have to mind read that we know how somebody is going to be affected by this or feel, or what we have to do to jump through hoops that aren't even there. We do these things because we're trying to protect ourselves. We're trying to stay safe. We're using past experience as filters for future predictions about how things are going to go down because our brains like to make calculations to know how to show up in the world, right? We know that if we fail a test, that we probably should study next time, right? We learn. And so that's what our brains are trying to do. But that doesn't mean that every time that they try to tell us something, that the thoughts are completely true or that they're accurate. Sometimes we personalize things that aren't about us, right? Again, like my friend in study hall, I'm there just having a face that wasn't smiling. She personalized it and thought my face meant something about how I felt about her. Not true. Or we think in all or nothing extremes, right? Oh, it's all one way, or it's never this way, or it should be this way, or it can't be that way. There's often a lot more flexibility to things, right? So when you notice how you're thinking, it gives you a place to say, hey, is there some way here where I am making one of these thinking errors, right? For instance, one that I hear a lot with clients is, oh, I didn't really have trauma. I mean, people have had things so much worse than me. And I say, but are you in pain, right? And they're in pain. Why are we comparing pain? Both and. You both are hurt. There's no hierarchy of pain. It doesn't matter if one thing sounds more dramatic and one thing seemed like little things over time. If they both cause pain, they caused pain, and that's valid. And you don't have to dismiss yourself, right? So when we think about how we're thinking, we can notice how that thinking is making us feel or the actions that we are taking as a result of believing those thoughts. So when someone thinks, oh, my wounds aren't as bad as someone else because their story was more dramatic, that's actually not helpful because it's dismissing the pain that you're having when you do that. And it's not telling you the truth. You had a wound too, and you're worth taking care of. It's not like there is a shortage of care to go around, right? People can care for you as well as someone else. And so we want to challenge these distortions like the overgeneralizing, the catastrophizing, the jumping to conclusions, the personalizing things that aren't about us, the all or nothing extremes when things can be both and, or find a flexible middle like a win-win situation rather than an either or, right? Another example might be like, I failed a test. I'm never going to get into college. Could failing a test cause you not to get into college? Sure, if you failed like 20 of them, maybe. But failing one test, you probably are going to have a chance to do better on other tests, get a better average, and you probably can still get into college if you continue to apply yourself and get the help that you need, right? So we need to be able to treat our thoughts as simply information of what we're thinking, but our ability to think about how we think as how we have power to help ourselves choose wise actions or to help ourselves feel more at peace. So if you have disturbance inside and you would like inner peace, take a look at your thoughts. Think about how you're thinking. and reframe that. Reframing is like when you put a different color matting around a picture, right? If I have a landscape and I have trim of matting that is blue, it might pull out the blue of the sky. But if I take that mat away from that painting, from that picture, and instead we put white, it might pull out the white of the clouds, right? Or if I put green, it might bring out the colors of the grass or of the leaves on the flowers. We get to choose how we frame the way we conceptualize thoughts, the way we look at experiences, the way that we put meaning on our feelings. And if we can do that and we have that power, wouldn't it make sense that it would be more beneficial to think on what's good, pure, lovely, true, on things that bring us joy, peace, freedom, rather than things that steal our peace? And the way to do that is to start thinking about how you're thinking and challenge it, reframe it, and then choose what to do with it. But those thoughts that you have can either be beneficial or hurt you. And you get to choose what to do with those thoughts. But when you're aware that they are simply thoughts and you can align them with truth, you can align them with godly things, you can say no to stuff that is not edifying, that is not what you want, you can focus on things that you do want or things that are true. That's where you gain power over things. And so I hope that that was helpful to you today. If you would like some help with processing your thoughts and feelings and that emotional overwhelm, I would love to hear what's going on in your world and possibly work with you. I do offer a free 15-minute consultation that you can go into the show notes and book with me, and we can hear what's going on and see if I'm a good fit to work with you to help you reach your therapy goals. Thanks for listening in today. I hope you'll listen next week. Take care. The content that you heard today is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not to replace professional therapy and is not to be considered a professional therapeutic relationship. If you would like to work with me, please reach out through the contact link in the show notes. I'd love to hear your story. And if you liked what you heard today and would like to share it with somebody or leave a rating and review, we greatly appreciate it so others can listen in too.